After a few days of racing in the Great White North of Canada, we are back in the south of France for Formula 1 to resume in 2019. Now, we are heading into round 8 at the Circuit De Paul Ricard of the French Grand Prix. Now, the Circuit De Paul Ricard has been a great feature to the Formula 1 calendar. It came out last year, the 2018 edition, after the French Grand Prix was off the calendar for almost 10 years now. It used to be run at Magny-Cours in the north of France. A really great circuit. I do love that. A great all-skill circuit. We saw some great racing there. Now that Zandvoort is back on the calendar, there was a lot of talk about Magny-Cours. A great all-style circuit. What would that do on the calendar? But yes, Paul Ricard, the French Grand Prix, has definitely found a home there. It's a great circuit to do. 2018 was a great race, won by Lewis Hamilton, who was the championship leader of this year. There was also some big controversy, some big crashes, and yes, a bit of a problem for one driver in particular. I'll get into him in a little bit. Before I jump into that, let's go through the standings as the driver standings so far in the 2019 campaign after the Canadian Grand Prix of round 7. Lewis Hamilton is the championship leader at 162 points. Now, Mercedes have won all 7 of their races this year. Lewis Hamilton taking the most wins over Valtteri Bottas. His Finnish teammate though sits in position 2 in the championship, 133 points. Now, Valtteri Bottas is definitely closing that. Since his win in Albert Park, he's definitely made himself a strong candidate to win the World Championship, or at least bring the fight to Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel is in P3 on 100 points. Now, Sebastian Vettel having a very disappointing season, but Canada is just going to rub so much salt in that ever-growing Ferrari wound that he has. 4th place is Max Verstappen with 88 points. Now, the first Red Bull driver is doing a great job. Mr. Consistent, as I would call him this year. He's yet to step foot on the top step of the podium, but it's definitely getting there for the young Dutchman. 5th place is Charles Leclerc with 72 points. The second of the Ferrari driver doing a good job in there. Again, he was denied a win earlier on in the season. Yet to step foot on the podium, top step, but yes, it will be coming soon. 6th place is home driver Pierre Gasly. Now, he crashed out on lap 1 alongside fellow Frenchman Esteban Ocon, so he will want to rectify that. He sits at 36 points. 7th place is Carlos Sainz, the first of the McLaren Renault drivers at 18 points. 8th place is Daniel Ricciardo, the Honey Badger, at 16 points. Starting off the top 10 is Checo Sergio Perez with 13 points for Racing Point. Good consistent points finishes for him, really holding the team on his own. 11th place is Kimi Raikkonen in Alfa Romeo. He sits on 13 points, also tied with Checo Perez. A good drive from the oldest man on the grid so far. 12th place is Lando Norris, the second driver for McLaren. He sits in 12th place. 13th position is Mr. Consistent, or Mr. Nearly Man even, Nico Hülkenberg. He sits at 12th place, doing a good job in that Renault. But with his new teammate, running away with it, he'll want to claw him back and get some good points. He has been in Formula 1 over a decade and he's yet to get on the podium. 14th place is Danny Kvyat at 10 points. Alexander Albon is his teammate. He's beaten him by 3 points. Alex sits at 7 points in P15. 16th place, a disappointing Lance Stroll sits at 6 points. The Canadian driver is really slipping down the order this year. Again, he is under the spotlight for different reasons. P17 is Romain Grosjean, the last of the scoring drivers for Haas. And the 3 non-scoring drivers at the bottom of the grid. 18th place, Antonio Giovinazzi of Alfa Romeo. 19th place, George Russell of Williams Mercedes. And 20th, rounding off the grid, is Polish driver Robert Kubica. So again, this is a preview show and I'm going to jump in with my top 3. But first, before that, I mentioned that I was going to say a bit of problems. A big defining race for one driver in particular, and that was Sebastian Vettel. Now, if you remember, Sebastian Vettel started in P3 at the French Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas in P2 and Lewis Hamilton in P1. Heading down into, I think it's about the 700 metre run down into turn 1, he locks his wheels and runs into Valtteri Bottas. He then makes Valtteri spin and again causes front wing damage to himself. Now, after all the problems that Sebastian Vettel has been having in 2018, this was one of the first to happen, and it was a big moment for the German driver. But yes, anyway, so with that aside, and a very entertaining French Grand Prix in 2018 behind us now, and hopefully what happened in Canada behind us, but even though I've just said it's not going to just blow away like that, let's get into the preview of France. Now, in 3rd place, I'm going to be going for Max Verstappen. Now, Mr. Consistent, like I just said, they're doing a very good job there. Now, he is yet to win it's going to be a very, very hard task for Red Bull. They might not even see the checkered flag. They might not even win a race this year. It's going to be very, very tight. You know, Mercedes are running away with it. Even if Mercedes are out of the picture, they've still got to contest Ferrari, but it is definitely possible. Next round that we're heading into is Austria. That's where Max Verstappen won the race, so you can say fantastic from him. And the Red Bull Ring, obviously because of their name, is a very Red Bull track. It's a home race for them. But if you remember in Austria last year, that's where both Mercedes didn't finish the race. And again, that's been the same for, you know, the last few years that Red Bull have been in. I remember 2016, you know, Red Bull won 2 races. So Mercedes won all but 2 races. Red Bull won in Spain, Max Verstappen won in Spain. But what happened to Mercedes? They crashed out. Daniel Ricciardo won in Malaysia. What happened to the Mercedes? Well, I mean, Nico was in the race, but he was nowhere. What happened to Lewis Hamilton? Oh yes, he had an engine problem. So again, it's, you know, only if Mercedes have these problems will Red Bull win. But obviously, let's hope that they do. Obviously, Red Bull fans, so yes, I hope they do win. But yes, Max Verstappen doing a very good job in that position. Red Bull, I think, know at the moment that they are the 3rd best team. They're the 3rd best team at the base. They could be the 2nd best, obviously challenging Ferrari, but they're nowhere near challenging or even catching Mercedes. Well, nobody is. But Max doing a very good job in that. Obviously, he's outscoring Pierre Gasly. He's outscoring the 2 Ferrari drivers, the Seb and Charles. Obviously, he's sandwiched in between those 2 at the moment. Obviously, Sebastian ahead of him in the World Championship, but beating Charles Leclerc, which was going to be his biggest rival this year. So that's good from him. Again, doing a very good job in that car. Now, Max, yes, I do think a 3rd place will be on the cards for him. A great race in France last year, doing a really good job. Again, obviously, Valtteri Bottas clawing his way through the grid. Sebastian Vettel clawing his way through the grid again. But yes, Max Verstappen very consistent behind Lewis, really challenging him in last year's race. I think he got the fastest lap as well. So again, very good from him. And that will boost him to, yes, hopefully even catching Sebastian Vettel. Because at the moment, I think a 3rd place from Max and just an average points finish for Seb, and he could be challenging him. And you never know, by the summer break, we could see Max Verstappen in 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, in the Drivers' World Championship. In the Constructors' World Championship, even, Ferrari definitely within catching distance. Red Bull can definitely catch Ferrari. Nobody can catch Mercedes. 295 points is absolutely insane. But yes, 3rd place will be Max Verstappen. I do think that he will have a very good race. 2nd place will be Lewis Hamilton. Now, the championship leader, the one who was the Mercedes have won all 7 races. I'll say he's won more. I think it's 4 races out of the 7, so 4 for him and 3 for Valtteri. Now, after Canada, that was a very painful race to watch. We all know what happened. I'm not going to go into much detail about that. By the way, guys, just on a side note, 10,000 views on our Canada review was fantastic. I did that, which I was very honoured to do. And yes, because the reason why that got so many is because of what had actually happened in the race. So that was really good for us, even because obviously we got a lot more views, 100,000 views as well, more subscribers, so it definitely helps us. But yes, going back to the race in Canada, I'm not going to talk about that much, as I've just said, but, you know, loads of controversy, and it's definitely going to follow us, not just into this race, but into the rest of the 2019 season and beyond. But a good race by Lewis Hamilton, though. Mercedes were not the dominant force in Canada, so that was good to see. I think that's probably one of the only circuits that they haven't been the dominant force. And yes, Ferrari were much better than them that, but nevertheless, good race from Lewis Hamilton. You know, being consistent like he is, he's never going to get less than consistent. And I would say he's never going to do a race this year where he's not going to be on the podium. So yes, Lewis Hamilton 2nd place. I do think that would be good. And my winner is the guy who should have won 2 weeks ago, and that is Sebastian Vettel. Now, obviously, the championship is out of his grasp. He's lost it completely now. Ferrari have lost it completely. More so Ferrari, but even Seb, there's just no way. You can actually stamp it down now. No way that he's going to catch Lewis Hamilton. He's even going to catch Valtteri Bottas. He might catch Valtteri Bottas, but there's no way he's going to catch Lewis Hamilton. You can see it's definitely over. So he's just fighting for merit now. and he's fighting for the fact that he didn't get a win at the Canadian Grand Prix, a race that, again, I don't want to say, but yes, he should have won it. And yeah, so if there's going to be a race that Sebastian Vettel is going to win, is going to want to win more than anything, apart from the German Grand Prix because of what happened last year, after the wars of Canada, he will definitely want to win this race. He'll be going into it, he will have lost 7 points from the race victory. He will feel like, that the FIA have let him down. He'll feel, he will feel quite, deflated, really. I mean, I do for him. I feel sorry for him. He will feel very deflated from it. And yes, he will want to go out there and he will want to win. He will want to do his very best job. Now, with Ferrari, the big problem is with Mercedes, they are definitely dominant. They never make an error in pit stops. They never make a strategy error. But with Ferrari, there is always a bit of a worry. Will they make these errors? What will happen? I think every time they go into a pit stop, it's always that worry of like, will Ferrari, get the right on time? Will they do this on time? Will they do the strategy? Will they get the strategy right? Now in Monaco, that definitely didn't happen. They messed up with Charles Leclerc. Sebastian kind of messed up on himself, crashing in FP3, but still they didn't get the strategy right, especially for Charles Leclerc, and that's what cost him the race. Now, again, with Monaco in mind, they went into the Canadian Grand Prix and they must have slapped everyone over the head and said, right, we've got to do this correct. No messing up, no errors. You've got to get everything spot on because, well, yes, it's slipping down. And from what we did to Poor Charles in Monaco, it cannot happen again. They went into Canada and yes, they were the dominant force from the get-go. I think they won 2 of the 3 FP sessions. Sebastian Vettel on pole position. And yes, Ferrari were the dominant force in Canada. You can definitely say that. And I know it's only a moral victory, but again, they didn't get the win. They only got one driver on the podium as well. But they can actually leave, I guess, Canada and say, well, we've got the moral win because we're definitely the best. We were the best team in Canada. I know that's not what they want, but they could definitely do that. They could leave Canada and think that they are the best team. It's definitely put them in a better position for the next few races. Yes, so after Monaco, the strategy definitely improved. Ferrari were definitely on point, so I guess there's no real worry that they will, but just as we've said before, Mercedes just seem to have more about them in terms of a team and making less mistakes. So in this race, if Ferrari can get it on point where they just do everything right, they get the strategy right, they get the pit stops right, they get the tyres right, they do everything in their power, then all it is now, it's down to Sebastian Vettel. I mean, unfortunately, yes, he will have that in his mind about, the FIA, what do I do? Will I make this error? Will I make that error? What do I, trying that he doesn't make a mistake. That is obviously going to be quite hard for him. Yes, hopefully he can just put that out of his mind and just drive the race that he can do because, he's done that before. We've seen races that he has done that before, where he's just put his head down and race. And I think that this is going to be a race that he'll have to just do that, head down and just do what you normally do, Sebastian Vettel. Hopefully Ferrari can help you get to that position. I think that they do. I have a lot of faith in there. But yes, Sebastian Vettel is going to be the driver that's most on the offensive this weekend. And yes, I think that he will win the race. Now, again, I say that, I do want to see him win. I do want a moral win. I think everyone out there that is not a Lewis Hamilton fan, if you are solid Lewis, then you're not going to want this. But I think anyone else, even Valtteri fans, might want Sebastian Vettel to win the race because he deserves it. But obviously, Formula One and life doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter if you want it or not. It doesn't matter if somebody thinks you need it. If you're not the best car, you won't win, and that's been shown before. I don't want to say Bahrain, but again, a bit like that. We all wanted Charles Leclerc to win, and we all, some people were saying that, Lewis should have stayed behind Charles Leclerc till the end, and I was like, you are kidding me, aren't you? That would never, ever happen. And again, that just shows like that. If we thought Charles Leclerc was going to win the race, which we wanted, there's no, just because we want him to win the race doesn't mean that he will win the race. So again, a bit like that, I want Sebastian Vettel to win the race, but do I think he'll win the race? I do think he will this weekend, but I've been saying that, for so many races, I think it was Monaco, I said Sebastian Vettel would win the race. It's going to be a very tough thing, but I just know that in terms of his mentality, that he will be on the utmost offensive and he will be going for this race. So yes, if that is the case and Sebastian Vettel does win the race, it will obviously boost him higher up in the World Championship. Valtteri Bottas is not on the podium for this race, so that will mean that there is a very tight gap. And I think after maybe Austria or even Silverstone, there could be a change to Seb in second place. But yes, I do think that Sebastian Vettel will have a good race. Not saying that Valtteri won't, but as you say, he's not on my podium this time. So obviously, yes, third place, Max Verstappen doing a good job in that Red Bull. Again, that will climb. That will be about 100 points that he will get. I think that will be 103 points that he will get. So obviously that will be a good finish from him. Second place, Lewis Hamilton, and first place, Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas again should have some good races. And yes, I think that that will be a good top three. Again, like I've just said though at the start, I want Sebastian Vettel to win the race, but will he do it? It's going to be a very hard feat because, the most basic thing ever, and that is the pace of that Mercedes is just uncatchable. You could be the best driver ever, and I think even someone like Ayrton Senna, if Ayrton Senna was in that Ferrari, I think he'd struggle to catch the Mercedes, not because he's more or less talented than Lewis Hamilton, but because of the pace of that Mercedes is just absolutely incredible. We've seen it, and we could be on for one of the most dominant seasons that we've ever seen in Formula 1. So obviously, yeah, that's my podium. Max, Lewis, and Sebastian Vettel. So obviously that is my opinion, and let's see what Jordan says, his predictions, his podium for the 2019 French Grand Prix.
Top three for the 2019 French Grand Prix. Now, third place for me, it's just getting harder and harder to kind of, predict as to who's going to be in that third place. I think P2 and P1 are quite easy to predict, but P3 is just getting really, really hard to do so. And every single week, or every single race rather, I'm just like, I don't know who to choose from between the top teams, because it could literally be anybody. But for this weekend, for the French Grand Prix, I'm going to go with the Ferrari driver of Sebastian Vettel. Now, Sebastian Vettel was under the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, kind of at the Canadian Grand Prix, caused up a massive, massive stir. It's now died down, which I'm pleased to say. I'm pleased we can just forget about it for now until it's mentioned again when the French Grand Prix does roll around. You'll be asked questions about it now. How are you feeling now? What's your mindset now? And I imagine all them questions will still be asked probably up until qualifying at least, or maybe the end of practice. I'm not too sure. But that is going to be the main topic this weekend, which is going to be annoying. But let's just hope it's just a little bit, a little talking point this weekend, so we can just kind of move on from that and enjoy the racing in hand. So yes, I'm going with P3 Sebastian Vettel. So, I mean, for me, Ferrari's championship is now over. Sebastian Vettel's championship, it's not going to happen, unfortunately, unless I keep saying this, unless an even bigger miracle happens. I mean, I'm talking like a 0.01% chance of Ferrari even winning the championship. I know it's only 7 races, but Mercedes are nearly on 300 points after 8 rounds. They definitely will be over 300 points at the end of the race. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what Mercedes are doing. So for me, it's no go for Ferrari. All they can do is just get as much points as they can. And if Mercedes do decide to fall one day, which they will screw up strategy. The car will fail. That definitely is going to happen this season. But Ferrari have to be the team to pick up the pieces, because at the moment they aren't, and Red Bull are picking up the pieces. And if Ferrari aren't careful, Red Bull will, and I mean will, take that second place spot. But let's not worry about that for now. Let's just concentrate on this race. So yes, as I said, P3 Sebastian Vettel. So P2, right. For one driver in particular, it is a must win. Well, I say one driver in particular. You know who that driver is. So I believe he should be P1, but the form of his teammate, I can't see him being beaten. So I'm going to go with P2 is Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri Bottas had a brilliant start of the season. His form, well, not really dipped off as such, but he's not there or thereabouts anymore. The past 2 or 3 races have been a bit dull from Valtteri Bottas, and I think he needs this weekend to be up there. I think for me, it's a must win for Valtteri Bottas if he does want to keep his foot in the door for that World Championship. 29 points deficit over Lewis Hamilton. That's what he needs to overcome. In the next couple of races, that's over a race win. So Hamilton retires and Bottas wins. He's still 4 points behind him anyway. So there's still a lot of work to do. And Hamilton's not a driver that's just going to retire one race and then do it again the next race. If Hamilton retires for whatever reason, he's going to come back the next race probably twice as strong, maybe even not even one race, but a couple of races after that. Hamilton's just such a good driver. And it's very, very hard to beat. Only a handful of drivers have beaten him. I believe it's only been Button and Rosberg who have actually beaten Hamilton in the championship standings. So Bottas has got a lot of work to do, but I do have faith in Valtteri Bottas. He's still a very, very good driver. But for me, I can't see him winning this Grand Prix. It is a must-win, but Lewis Hamilton is just far too strong. So I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas in P2. So obviously my race winner is blatantly obvious, and I believe Lars probably going to predict the same thing as me, unless he goes for another mad prediction. I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. 5 out of the last 6 races, Lewis Hamilton has won. He's just unstoppable, isn't he, guys? He's absolutely unstoppable. P1 or P2 this season so far. His consistency has been absolutely incredible. I mean, I can't see him. I literally cannot see Hamilton being beaten this weekend. I do hope that is the case, because I do want a closer championship fight. Even if it's not with Ferrari, I do want Bottas to put up a bit of a fight and show that that fire that he had at the start of the season, it's now dying down a bit. He needs something to reignite his fire to be able to challenge Lewis Hamilton. Because if Hamilton does win this weekend, that means the point comes to what, 36 points. Well, possibly even more if Hamilton gets the fastest lap. So you're looking at 7-8 point deficit. An advantage Hamilton could gain on Valtteri Bottas this weekend, and for me, it'll just be championship over, in my opinion. As I said before, so Lewis Hamilton, his form is absolutely formidable. Won the race last season. Bottas got a bit unlucky. Well, yeah, yes, he did get unlucky. Got in contact with Sebastian Vettel. I think Verstappen was on the podium and Kim Raikkonen, I think it was, in P2 and P3. I can't see. I mean, Verstappen is within the shout of a podium, but I think Ferrari. I think the circuit may suit the Ferrari a little bit, but for me, the Mercedes car in them corners are just so good. And there is more there is more corners than there is straights at the French Grand Prix. The straight lines will kind of help the Ferrari a bit, but for me, the Mercedes car is just too good in the corners, and Hamilton is just too good of a driver to be able, to be beaten this weekend. So for me, Sebastian Vettel P3, Valtteri Bottas P2, Lewis Hamilton P1. Pole position, Lewis Hamilton. Of course, it's going to be. I do hope that we see a closer challenge from Ferrari this weekend. Canada was a very good, solid weekend for them, despite what did happen during the race for Sebastian Vettel, unfortunately. But I think Ferrari are just. They're saying they're bringing upgrades, but Mercedes seem to be bringing the even better upgrades. In my opinion, and not only that, they are 2 or 3 steps ahead of Ferrari. So whenever Ferrari, bring development, they are still a bit behind the Mercedes. So I can't see Ferrari at all. I can't see Ferrari being there at all, if I'm honest with you, because they are saying that there's only 4 tracks on the calendar that actually suit the Ferrari perfectly. And 2 of them have already been to, which is Bahrain in Canada. The other 2 being Spa and Monza. Yes, Spa and Monza, that's the one. Belgium and Italy. So, up until we get then, will Ferrari win a race up until then? I really don't know, to be honest with you. But the Mercedes dominance will come to an end eventually. Mercedes can't win every single race this season. Can they? Let us know your opinions in the comment section below. So, just to quickly end off my segment, I'm going to give my ones to watch. And, of course, it's the French Grand Prix. This is where Grand Prix racing originated. Probably, I think it was in, 1909, I think it was. The first Grand Prix was held in France. So, this is the home of motorsport. Not Formula 1, motorsport itself. Grand Prix racing, Grand Prize. That's what it means in French. If you're not too familiar with that, so there you go. Educate on this episode. So I'm going to go with every single French person involved, every single French driver involved in the Grand Prix, which is of course Pierre Gasly and Romain Grosjean. Cast your mind back to the last race, the last year's French Grand Prix. You had 2 French drivers collide. One of them was Pierre Gasly. The other one, who isn't on the grid at the moment, was Esteban Ocon. Those 2 came together. I think Gasly lost the rear, slammed into the side of the rear of Esteban Ocon, which was Force India at the time. Those 2 drivers were out on the spot. Renault, they did have a good solid race last season. This season it hasn't really been that good, but the showing in Canada was a very good improvement from what we had seen at the start of the season. So my team to watch is definitely Renault. Keep your close eye on them. I think they could be the best of the rest this weekend. As the home Grand Prix, both drivers, Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, will want to do Renault proud. The sponsors will be over the moon if they can do that. So I think that, expect a bit more sponsors on the Renault car this weekend. And of course, the two French drivers, Pierre Gasly. Will he beat Verstappen this weekend? I don't know, in my opinion. I don't think so, but I think if there's ever a time where Gasly should, shut up his shut his critics, it should be this weekend in front of his home crowd. I think he will have a solid weekend, maybe a good showing in qualifying, but that's where he needs to improve more, mostly. And then in the race, he needs to have a bit of a closer fight too. Verstappen, he's scoring some consistent points, but in terms of driving alongside Verstappen, Verstappen's got 2 podiums, Gasly has none, and I think Verstappen's finished ahead of Pierre Gasly in all 7 races so far. So Gasly does need to do some work, and again his future is under a bit of pressure, which we have spoke about in past F1 debate shows. So yeah, I think Gasly should have a good weekend, hopefully anyway. And for the other Frenchman, Romain Grosjean, I think that at this time at the last race in last season's race in France, I think he scored no points coming into this weekend. This season he's already scored 2 points, so he's better. He's 2 points better off, but it's not good, is it, from Romain Grosjean? He does need to do better, and a bit like Gasly, best place to really show and basically and again shut his critics is at his home Grand Prix in France. So keep an eye out on both Renaults, or Fulkenberg and Ricciardo, the French team, in obviously the Renault team, the French team in total throughout the course of the weekend, and your 2 French drivers in Pierre Gasly and Romain Grosjean. Keep a close eye on them.
Well, yes, that's some good predictions, Jordan. Lewis Hamilton, I mean, there is absolutely no catching him at the moment. It's really hard to make predictions. We've got it right in the past. We've said Mercedes are going to dominate, but we've also got it wrong in the past. I remember my F1 debate show at Canada. Again, both of our previews, we said Mercedes was going to dominate. Lewis Hamilton did win the race, so we got that right, but it wasn't really a win because, yes, Sebastian Vettel should have won. And again, like I just said at the start, Ferrari definitely were the more dominant car. But yes, that's some good predictions from him. At least one Ferrari on the podium. He got Sebastian Vettel in 3rd place. Valtteri Bottas was really challenging Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place. And of course, the championship leader, who will extend his lead by 25 points in this race, obviously heading in Austria with a massive gap. And again, like you just said there, Mercedes. So Mercedes at the moment, 295 points, can easily get to 300. Well, that's absolutely nothing. Of course they will, you can even guarantee that. But that will just extend their lead. And like I just said about Sebastian Vettel, if there's no chance of catching Lewis Hamilton in the World Championship, then there is absolutely no way in hell that anyone is catching Mercedes. It's absolutely incredible. Ferrari over 100 points behind and growing. I'm not even halfway into the season. I think the halfway point is Hungary or Germany, somewhere like that. But yes, it's going to be very, very tight in the drivers, possibly between Lewis and Valtteri, but nowhere in the constructors. So obviously that is our predictions, guys. Obviously make sure to leave in the comment section obviously what you thought about our predictions. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Obviously let us know your predictions as well. Your top 3, top 5, top 10, top 20 if you want. Just let us know what you think will happen in the French Grand Prix. Is going to be a very contested race, and I do like the Circuit De Paul Ricard, great by the fans, and yes, it was fantastic to watch on the TV last year. So obviously a few drivers and teams that I want to look out for this weekend. Now the first one I'm going to start with is the team, and that is Renault. Now in Canada, Renault had an absolutely unbelievable, not just race, but weekend. It was P4 for Daniel Ricciardo, P5 for Nico Hülkenberg in qualifying, really, really fantastic from him. They told Daniel Ricciardo on the radio, he couldn't believe it, we couldn't believe it. Now, when he went, it was a Lewis Hamilton-esque McLaren 2012 to Mercedes kind of move. Very strange, very reluctant, but if you watch all the interviews, he is very, very happy with himself to have gone there. It was his decision, and he's very happy to have Nico Hülkenberg, a guy who he is very, very close with. Well, I guess everyone's close with the Honey Badger. I can't think of anyone who doesn't like him. But yeah, so it's a very good partnership by those two. Renault, they definitely want a boost, and there is something in Daniel Ricciardo. I think it's, you can't really explain it, but he just wants Renault to do. He has more faith in Renault, more so than he ever had when he was at Toro Rosso, or more so than he ever had when he was at Red Bull. And unfortunately, Max, if you watch him, but he does like Nico much better than he did Max. So yes, sorry Max, but yes, Nico Hülkenberg is very good friends with him, and so yes, they did a very good race in Canada, really, really great. in the race, when you see someone high finishing, I think it was Nico got P4 in Austria 2014 qualifying, and Jensen got third, I think it was. So again, you watch these drivers and you think, of course, they're just going to plummet down. But they did a good race from there. Daniel Ricciardo really holding his own in that Renault. Again, I gave him Team of the Week in the review that I did on the Sunday. Thought they did a really, really great job. Now, Renault, it's their home race. Now, they had... last year, there was so many. Basically, the grandstands were were yellow and black. There was so much Renault support. Nico said it was like a home race, and well, it actually was, but more so for him as well as Renault. It was really, really incredible to see. And Daniel Ricciardo, a new addition into the team, but from what I've seen from other races, he's really, really been taken on as a new son for Renault. So it should be really, really great to see what they can do in this race. Again, having that home support, I do think that is really great. Their team principal, Cyril Abiteboul, he has said that they've brought some upgrades to the track. And again, the French Grand Prix, the Paul Ricard said, has suited the Renaults before. Canada, yes, was absolutely incredible for them. They haven't had the best finishes. I think it was Azerbaijan was one of their worst races this year. Obviously, both cars retired out of the race. Daniel Ricciardo with a very comical one. But yes, doing a very good job in that Renault. So I do think they will have a good finish. Hopefully, both top 10s, very clean races, and yes, just made it a great spectacle for the fans watching. The other driver that I want to watch out for is the home driver from my team Red Bull, which is Pierre Gasly. Now, 6th place in the World Drivers' Championship is a good position for him. Remember that, a few races ago we were saying, Pierre Gasly, he's not, he doesn't deserve to be in that seat. He should give it up. He should be replaced by Nico Hülkenberg. Again, we've made a video on that. I think Jordan was in a video by Chaz HD on the matter. Obviously, please go and check that out if you haven't already. That's obviously on Chaz's YouTube channel. We'll leave a link in the description about that. So we talked about, Nico Hülkenberg, is he better than Pierre Gasly and stuff like that. For me, talking about that, was about talking about two different drivers, because I do like Nico Hülkenberg. I do think he should have the chance, but I don't want to see him replace Pierre Gasly, because I do like him, and Red Bull needs to give their drivers a chance, and it seems like they're giving him a chance at the moment. If you watch the interviews from Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, it doesn't seem like he's under the cush like Danny Kvyat is. And I'm glad Red Bull are giving him that chance. They need to wait a bit longer, but some good finishes by him. He's had 2 consistent P4s. He's had the fastest lap in China. So he's doing well in that car, and yes, the French Grand Prix, I think that with that home support, he should have a good race. Now, last year, he did crash out on lap 1. He crashed into a fellow French driver, the Force India driver of Esteban Ocon. So again, he'll want to rectify that, but I do think Pierre Gasly will have a good race. I'm going to go for P9. It's quite far out, but yes, I'm going to say that will be a good, consistent finish by him. I hope as the season goes on, he improves by that. And 5th place, Charles Leclerc. It's going to be tight to catch him, especially in the Ferrari car, but I do think that he can do it. Pierre Gasly, yes, I'm giving him a lot more support than I think we were in the last few races. But yes, I think it'll be a good race from them. Obviously, all the other French drivers in the race, obviously Romain Grosjean at Haas, I'm giving him a lot of support. And again, like I've just said, with Renault, the home team, the French team, I'm really hoping that they will have a good race. So obviously that is the end of our French Grand Prix preview, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed what you've liked around here, please like and subscribe. In terms of our target, we are within single digits of getting 600 subscribers before the British Grand Prix. And we're not even at the Austrian Grand Prix. We're not even at the French Grand Prix yet. So obviously, thank you very much for everyone who's subscribed. Obviously, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. Leave us a comment. Let us know about our predictions and your predictions. Let us know what you think is going to happen in the race. Let's leave Canada out of it. We've already closed that book, hopefully. And yes, let's just move on to France and resuming the European season in Formula 1. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And until next time, we'll see you later.